They stood beneath a sky of fire. Thousands of torches flickered across the stone courtyards of Chichén Itzá. As the Mayan priests looked to the heavens, the stars, those eternal messengers, glimmered above them like beads of prophecy. To the Mayans, the sky wasn't a mystery. It was a map, a clock, a mirror reflecting the rhythm of gods and men. One priest, perhaps, tilted his head upward at night, his face painted with ash, his heart steady in the hum of drums and whispered words that would echo through centuries. The world will end when the calendar ends. And that calendar would end on December 21st, 2012. You remember it, don't you? The documentaries, the doomsday prophecies, the panic and fascination that swept the modern world. People built bunkers, bought supplies. Movies predicted tidal waves, meteors, even planetary alignments that would tear Earth apart. But as the clock struck midnight, nothing happened. Or did it? Because what if the Mayans weren't predicting the end of the world, but a change in it, a turning of the cosmic gear so subtle, so profound, that most people never realized it had already begun? To understand how the Mayans could see so far ahead, we have to go back far beyond 2012. Beyond Columbus, beyond the pyramids of Giza, to a world carved from limestone and ruled by time itself. The Mayan civilization flourished in the jungles of what's now Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras. They were astronomers before telescopes, mathematicians before the printing press, philosophers of time itself. Every sunrise, every lunar phase, every alignment of Venus, they recorded it all with terrifying precision. They mapped the heavens like engineers mapping circuitry. And from that divine geometry, they built something astonishing, a calendar so accurate it could predict solar eclipses thousands of years in advance. Their calendar wasn't just a way to count days. It was a cosmic language, a system that connected the physical world to the spiritual one. The Mayans believed time wasn't linear, it was cyclical. Everything repeated in great cosmic loops. Birth, death, rebirth. Civilizations rose, collapsed, and rose again. Even the gods were caught in this eternal rotation. And so they created not one, but multiple calendars, layered like gears in a clock. There was the Tzolk'in, the 260-day sacred cycle, the Hab, the 365-day solar year, and then the long count, the grand cosmic odometer that stretched across millennia. The long count began in the year 3114 BCE, the Mayan creation date. It would end precisely 5,125 years later. That end date, December 21st, 2012. To the Mayans, this wasn't just an ending. It was the completion of a Berkton, a cycle of creation. Each Berkton marked the rise and fall of worlds, and when one ended, another began. But for reasons we still debate, that final date, the 13th Berkton, took on apocalyptic significance. Perhaps they believed the gods would return, or that humanity would be judged, or perhaps it was never meant to be feared at all. Here's the twist. The Mayans never actually said the world would end in fire and chaos. That was our interpretation, our modern anxiety projected onto their ancient mathematics. In their inscriptions, the 2012 date is mentioned only a few times most, notably at Tortuguero, a Mayan site in Tabasco. The text speaks of the return of Polanyacht, a mysterious god of transformation and renewal. It doesn't say destruction. It says change. To the Mayans, endings were sacred. They marked renewal, chance for balance to be restored. In their cosmic view, chaos wasn't the apocalypse, it was the prelude to rebirth, and in a strange, poetic way, they were right. Look around. After 2012, the world did change, just not in the way Hollywood promised. It wasn't meteors or floods. It was something quieter, deeper, almost invisible. That year marked the dawn of a new digital. In 2012, the first wave of global smartphones became mainstream. Social media exploded into dominance. Human attention, our most sacred currency, shifted from the stars to the screens. It was, in every sense, the end of one world and the birth of another. A shift from the physical to the virtual, from myth to algorithm, from observing the cosmos to becoming one. Did the Mayans know that? Exactly. Of course not. But what they did understand better than almost any civilization before or since was the rhythm of cycles. They believed humanity would evolve in waves, each driven by new consciousness, new tools, new understanding. In that sense, they weren't wrong. Their prophecy, if we dare to call it that, wasn't about fire and brimstone. It was about transition. But how could a people who lived 1,000 years before telescopes or satellites calculate celestial events with such precision? The answer lies in their cities. Places like Uxmal, Copan, and Palenque weren't just cities, they were observatories carved into stone. The temple of Kukulkan at Chichén Itzá is aligned so perfectly with the sun that during the equinox, a serpent of light seems to slither down its staircase. This wasn't coincidence. It was designy. Every building was tuned to the movements of the heavens, as if the earth itself had been built to listen. The Mayans understood something fundamental. That time, nature, and divinity were all the same thread. To them, to study the sky was to study fate. And fate, to the Mayans, was not fixed, it was patterned. If you understood the patterns, you could predict the future. Not as fortune tellers, but as observers of cycles. They saw the stars as storytellers. Each conjunction of Venus or eclipse of the moon was a signal, a divine repetition of what had come before. History didn't just happen, it recurred. In this philosophy, the future was simply the past rewritten. And if that's true, then yes, perhaps they did predict the future. Because look closely at our modern world. Empires rise and fall. Technology promises enlightenment, but brings chaos. Our obsession with time, measurement, and data echoes of their ancient obsessions continue to shape our destiny. The Mayans built temples to watch Venus. We build satellites to watch everything. Different tools, same hunger, same desire to decode the unknown. There's something haunting in that, because while the Mayans may have vanished as a civilization, their understanding of cycles seems eerily immortal. They believed every age ends in renewal and that humanity, no matter how advanced, is bound by time's eternal pulse. They were wrong about the form of the change, but right about the fact of it. Our world did end in 2012, the world of pre-digital innocence. And what replaced it was a new era, interconnected, illuminated, and also more fragile than ever. Maybe that's what Bolanyakt was, the god of change awakening once again, not through temples, but through technology. And here's where it gets even stranger. In recent years, astronomers have confirmed something extraordinary: the alignment of our solar system with the galactic center. The very event that marked the 2012 date in the Mayan calendar did occur, not perfectly in one moment, but over several decades, and December 21st, 2012 was right in the middle of it. This alignment affects gravitational and electromagnetic balances across the solar system, small but measurable. To the Mayans, this wasn't physics. It was prophecy, the rebirth of the world as it crossed the galactic midline, and whether we see it as science or symbolism, it happened. Right, indeed. So what do we make of it now? Was it coincidence, ancient genius, or something more mysterious? An intuition about the universe we've since forgotten. Maybe the Mayans weren't predicting the future. Maybe they were reminding us that the future isn't separate from the past, that time doesn't march, it dances, and that civilizations fall not because they fail to see the future, but because they forget the rhythm of cycles. In the end, perhaps their greatest prophecy wasn't about the end of the world, but the reminder that worlds always end and always begin again. The sky still moves. The stars still whisper. And somewhere beyond the reach of time, the Mayan priests still watch, measuring the heavens, smiling quietly at how their calendar still ticks on, long after the world it predicted was reborn. Because maybe they didn't get it wrong. Maybe, just maybe, they got it half right.